Hey everybody, DevoutNation here. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. I got a great video for you today. This one talks about one of my favorite subjects, which is objective morality. And this atheist almost gets it. He just almost gets it. And then he just fails to grasp it at the very end. It's a little bit of a longer video, but please watch it till the end because I think it'll be worth it. Let's start.
Basically, what you're saying is that you're just going to use personal anecdotes of, well, this scripture says...
That's not what I said at all.
Well,
yeah,
no.
That was like the fourth point.
No, you said that, well, look at scripture.
Yep.
Scripture says this specific person, God helped them in this way. You said, well, okay, so kids dying of cancer, these kids are going to heaven. So basically, you're only pointing to personal anecdotes to try and prove to some... So if someone's an atheist, they don't...
What did I start with? What was my first point? You're missing my first point. Because you're right. If I would have just said those, that would have been an embarrassing answer. I totally agree. Talked about C.S. Lewis and moral obligation and how he dealt with suffering and evil and thinking through it logically that it's not that bad if there is no God, because there's no moral obligation, no real evil and goodness. Secondly, no, to your point, it's a great point. You do want to finish and then I'll answer.
Well, what I was going to say is, basically, what y'all are saying is pretty much that without God, if you're an atheist, if you don't believe in God or any higher power, if you're not spiritual, then you have no ability to have morals.
No,
basically.
we never said that once. We would never say that.
Not that you don't have an
Sir,
ability.
I've been speaking for 40 years on campus, okay? I've never said that once.
Don't jump on me. Because
Yes, I will. When you misquote me, I will reject it.
If you're going to jump first, we got to jump second.
Yeah, we will jump. You're jumping and we'll jump, okay? So please don't misquote me. I have never once said atheists cannot live good lives. I've said the opposite. I've said my atheist friends live good lives. They have an understanding of goodness. The question is, what is goodness? Who defines goodness? And if there is no God, the answer to that's real obvious. You define goodness, I define goodness, culture defines goodness, the power elite define goodness, but it's all relative depending upon the individual, the culture, or the powerful people you're interacting with.
But that's how it is in general, all right.
No! Those are the different options.
No.
The individual, the culture, the power elite, or God.
Each person has the ability to choose their own morals.
Yeah, obviously. We all choose.
Every government of any body of people has their ability to choose the morals that they're going to put into law over the people that...
Obviously, we agree on that.
So that already exists in real life.
Obviously, that exists in real life.
Has the ability
so
to
what on
choose their
earth
own
is your
morals.
point?
Well, you're saying that to be able to... You're saying that we should all have some sort of communal, morals.
False. Never said that once.
You're saying that we should get these morals derived from Scripture and from God.
False. Never said that once.
You just explain what you just said.
Thank you for asking.
Explain it again.
What I said was, if he says there is no mind prior to the human mind, no God, then it's obviously the human mind that creates and defines right and wrong, which means right and wrong are totally relative. They are a fantasy created in this handsome head, a fantasy created in this handsome head. I am not right, he's not wrong, he's not right, I'm not wrong. It's all relative. That is all we've been saying. Now, when you realize that, what you've got to say is, okay, I think it's wrong for him to stab him, but that's just my personal bias. If he chooses to say it's good to stab him, that's good for him.
Yeah.
No, wrong. It's horrible for him to stab him.
Yeah, but it's all relative.
No, it's not all relative.
Is it wrong for you? Do you believe that it's wrong for me to just stab him?
Yeah, but what I
that's
believe
just
and what
relative
you believe,
opinion.
It's everything's relative.
Exactly. So if
that's a
you
relative
believe
statement.
everything's relative,
Yeah.
live it out. So if I stab him, don't tell me that I've done something objectively wrong. Tell me, from your biased perspective, me stabbing him is wrong.
By the standards of our society.
Good, and so what if we live in white South Africa? What happens if
then the standards of that society are different than they are here?
Exactly, which means it's still all relative.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So this kid, he's on the cusp of getting the point. So he agrees that it's relative, but he can't see how that is wrong, because he will say that in other societies it would be okay to, quote, stab somebody. We all know that's objectively wrong, and he says that he thinks it's wrong, but in different societies it could be different. So he can't seem to grasp the fact or grasp the idea that Cliffe is throwing to him, that in any case, any scenario, any society, any culture, any situation whatsoever, besides like self-defense, stabbing somebody is objectively wrong. He's hung up on that it's relative and that the society and the governments make up what is right and wrong, which is a scary way of thinking, because if you look at history, the government has been wrong about morals a lot. And that's not just far history, that's recent history. So he's like almost there. He's almost there. Like he can see what Cliffe is saying, that it's all relative and that the human mind decides what's right and wrong. But what Cliffe is trying to break through to him is that there are things that are just right and wrong, and that has to be an objective lawgiver, because where else would it come from? And he almost gets it, and you'll see this kid almost get it like throughout this entire video, and then I'll show you the end.
Which means don't get so upset about him stabbing him, because it's just relatively wrong. It's not objectively wrong, it's just relatively wrong. So chill and let him stab him. Now, you can say it's wrong. Obviously, he says it's right.
But it's still relative.
Yeah, exactly, according from your view.
Believes. So you're saying that the only reason that we believe that it's a general consensus that someone stabbing someone else is evil is because those are morals that we got from God?
Because morality is relative. For him to stab him, objectively, nothing wrong. But if he has been created with value, because there's a God who made him for a purpose, then it is evil for him to murder him. It's that simple.
Evil is relative. Evil is
No, it's
a matter
not.
of opinion.
When is the abuse of an innocent child ever good?
I'm saying we believe it's bad as a society, but an individual could still believe...
I could give a rip. In some societies, they think it's just fine to eat your babies. I think that society is wrong. I don't care what the culture says. It's wrong to eat your baby. Don't do it. Objectively wrong. I am convinced Dr. Martin Luther King was absolutely correct when he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail that said, you know, I really don't care what the great state of Alabama says. There's a law above the law of the great state of Alabama, and according to that law, segregation is evil. The only way he can say that is because he knows there's a God who creates all human beings in his image with equal value. Therefore, for you to denigrate somebody and have a racist attitude is not relatively wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Does that make sense?
But that doesn't prove anything.
It doesn't prove anything, you're right. It's just calling you to be intellectually consistent, that's all.
No.
So if you're going to tell me morality is relative, then don't tell me that abusing innocent children is wrong. Don't tell me that racism is wrong.
But you're misquoting me. Because I said...
I'm not quoting you. I said don't say. I haven't said it yet.
I'm saying don't say, and then... whatever.
Don't think, okay? I'm not quoting you, okay?
So what you're saying is, well, okay, if each individual person has their own ability to choose their morals.
Yes.
Each individual person can do that.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. So if we as a society believe that this thing is inherently wrong, if we as a society believe school shootings inherently wrong, racism inherently wrong, that's our beliefs as a society. That could be completely different than the beliefs of a society somewhere else in the world or of a society from the past.
Is our society right and that other society that disagrees with us wrong?
It's all, I mean, it
relative.
just depends
Come on.
on, yeah, it's all relative. It depends on the society.
So don't tell me there's any objective good or objective evil. It's all relative.
I never said that there was objective good or objective evil. There's
then
not.
Don't get so upset about evil. Because evil is not objectively wrong, it's relatively wrong. And you wouldn't go to India and those kids whose parents are breaking their bones, so they put them out on the side of the street so people can give the family money. You wouldn't dare, as an American, go down there and tell them that that's wrong, would you? Because that's their culture. And that's ethnocentric of you to do so. I hope you wouldn't do that, because that would be very inconsistent by what you are saying right now, not him misquoting.
The definition of ethnocentric is only from the standards of one's own society.
So you wouldn't do it?
Just because I'm telling them that it's wrong, I'm not saying you need to believe that this is wrong, because my society says you should believe that this is wrong. saying I believe this is wrong.
And
That's
I
not
don't
saying
believe
it's
that you really
objectively
believe
wrong.
that. I do not believe that you really believe that. I don't think if you went down to help that poor child, that his parents did that to him, that you would come back here and be like, oh shoot, that was just my own cultural American morality again, and I cannot tell them that that was really wrong.
But that's the
So I'm stoked that Stuart has started joining his father Cliff and doing these. He brings a little bit more punch than I think Cliff does, and it's really fun to watch. But this is how warped the mind of this kid is. He's literally saying that it's there's no point in going down to another country where some monstrosities are happening, but it's accepted in their culture because that's their culture. So just think that through for a minute. If you go to, I think he said India, and there are parents who break the bones of their kids to put them on the street to get money from people for like donations just to make more money, that's evil. Like there's 100% no way that you could say that's not evil. And this kid's worldview is that, hey, that's just part of their culture. Who are we to say that's wrong? Because that's what they accept. So he believes in the popular vote of morality, whereas Christians believe that there is only the law given by a lawgiver, God, of morality. So we know it's wrong. We could go down there and we would have no problem saying, hey, why are you guys doing that to your children? That's wrong. You need to stop doing that. Something needs to change. We need to change this situation because what you're doing is horrible. Whereas his worldview says, oh, India just does this, so I guess that's all right because they all accept it. I'm just going to go back to my Western civilization here in America and be okay with that. No. As Christians, we know that's wrong. We pray for those things to change, and we actively try to eliminate evil in the world. And his worldview just says, if they accept it, they accept it. That's for him to, because he's an intelligent kid. I'm not taking away from his intelligence. He's going to a college. You can tell that he's well-versed. He speaks fluently. He has an intelligent mind, but I just think it's been warped. And I hope that after the conversation he has with Cliff and Stuart, that he goes home and reflects on what he said and what he believes in, and maybe turns to God, whether it be Christianity or any other major religion, because the worldview that he holds right now is pretty messed up. Just to say, oh, hey, popular vote dictates what morality is.
I think you would be pretty dejected and feel pretty bad about yourself.
But I
no,
that's the truth
you
of the
use
situation.
oughts and shoulds every day, I'm
That's the
sure.
truth of
Hey,
the
Mom,
situation.
you ought to have given me money for lunch today. Hey, brother, you should not have hit me today and pummeled me again. What are you appealing to when you say ought and should?
Y'all see how he's trying to make me, you should feel, you would feel bad coming back in this society, right?
Shoulds
You're talking over
and
me.
oughts. Shoulds
And you've
and
talked
oughts.
over us as well, so it's a match. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
I let you speak a lot.
But it's
Continue.
It's all relative to say that something is objectively wrong. It's objective based off of our society's beliefs.
And
Saying
we're saying
something
no.
is objectively wrong in general over the course of all of history,
Yes.
that is based off of our current society's beliefs.
And we're saying Abraham Lincoln was right when he led a civil war that said to the South, you are wrong. Enslaving African Americans is evil, and we're willing to die to stop it. What an arrogant bigot Abraham Lincoln was, or what a man in touch with reality, in touch with objective morals, that he would put it on the line and say, we're going to end slavery. You don't understand that? You're smarter. You understand what I just said to you.
At the time, society believed that slavery was, in general, a good thing.
Yeah,
During
and
the
Abraham
time-
Lincoln said
and-
no.
But there was
I don't know if you guys saw it. There was a guy right here who he heard this kid say that, and he just straight up walked out because it's so ridiculous what he said. So again, this kid is saying that depending on the time, whatever society says was okay makes it okay. And even people in the background are just like, that's such a ridiculous thing to say, because society doesn't make something, popular vote does not make something right or wrong. It just doesn't. There are objective rights and wrongs that we all know and hold true to our heart to know what is right and wrong, and that is given to us by God.
There's also large groups of people during the time that believed that slavery was a bad thing.
Yeah.
So viewing that as an objective wrong, that's still just another example of the beliefs of the society at the time.
No, it's not. It is a claim that slavery is absolutely evil. Therefore, I am willing to put my life on the line to end it. It's not relatively evil. It's not me foisting my cultural bias on the Southerners. It is me holding to moral absolute. Slavery is evil.
But just because one person believes that doesn't believe that another person believes that.
That obviously.
It doesn't mean that another person thinks that that is the objective truth.
Obviously.
So how can there be an
So
objective
what?
truth if not everyone believes it? It's all
You got to be
relative.
kidding me. You honestly believe that in order for there to be an objective truth, everybody's got to agree on it? Are you serious? That is so scary. It's incredible. You think that unless I can get everybody to agree that the abuse of an innocent child is wrong, and then it's wrong, but if there are a few people who think abusing an innocent child is okay, that therefore it's okay?
I'm telling you, how is it objective if not everyone believes it?
Because objectively, you are created in the image of God. You have been given a value by God that culture and individual, the power elite, the intelligentsia cannot change. It is objectively true, you have value. Which means that if anybody devalues you, that is absolutely evil.
So it's just crazy to me that he believes in a system to where he thinks that the only way that there's an objective truth is that if everybody believes in it. There are people in the world who don't think that the world is round. So does that mean, with the evidence that we have that the world is round, that it's not an objective truth that the world is round because there are a few people who are flat earthers are around there? Like, that way of believing and that way of thinking is actually scary. Like Cliff said, it's scary that he would believe in something like that, because just because not everybody believes in something doesn't mean that that thing is false. Like, I could sit here and say that 3 times 3 equals 9, and then somebody else say 3 times 3 equals 3, and this kid, under what he just said, well, then that means 3 times 3 equals 9 is not objectively true. Like, it's such a bizarre way of thinking that I just don't understand how he can believe in something like that when he is intelligent. Like, you can tell that he has an intelligent mind. It's just been warped. Let's continue.
Objectively evil.
It's not about emotionally feeling it or emotionally just believing in it. No, it's the oughts and should above. It's appealing to a moral transcendent obligation and duties. Please go and check this out. Moral obligation and duties that we buy into. You're right. Cultures are different. Cultures are different. There's honor killings in certain cultures. You're exactly right. But we still, every single person knows the value of a human being, that they have innate value and dignity. Even cannibals, study of cannibals, still, you have to dehumanize before you actually. No, it's not tied. No. Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians, Jews all say that this is tied to a God. They would differ on what God it is. But even when we talked to one of the top atheists who wrote the introduction, Oxford Introduction to Atheism, Julie Baggini, says that the moral argument is the toughest for an atheist to get around because it breaks into your life in such a way where there are moral oughts, shoulds, and duties in your life. And you know it and you live it out day to day. And you did not make it up. And the statement, when you started out here saying, oh, it's just relativism. Well, that's a relative statement. So why should I buy in to your statement of it's just all relative? That sounds very objective by you stating it's all relative.
No, I'm not saying that objectively, everyone believes their own beliefs.
How's that objective?
Objectively, it's all relative.
Yeah, subjectively.
No, everyone believes their own beliefs. Everyone holds their own value system,
Yeah.
their own morals.
Yeah.
So the fact that there is an objective right and wrong, different societies throughout time have had a majority of people in societies have had a belief that a certain thing is right or a certain thing is wrong that we would think are completely different than today.
Yeah. That's reality.
So
that's reality.
During those times, who was thinking, oh, these things are objectively wrong?
People who believed in God for thousands of years have understood God has given commands. He's given us a conscience, and we, by exercising that conscience, can understand what is morally true, good, and real. Therefore, if you try and sexually assault her, I'm going to try and physically stop you. Why? Because she has value, he has value, and when you sexually assault her, you're not like the baboons, you're not like the chimpanzees, who do sexually assault each other. Male baboons and chimpanzees sexually assault female baboons and chimpanzees. You're not a baboon, you're a human being created in the image of God. God has created her, not as a baboon or as a chimpanzee, but as a woman created in his image, and therefore, if you try and sexually assault her, I will physically try to stop you because I'm convinced it's objectively wrong, morally absolutely wrong for a man to sexually assault a woman.
So if you, from the perspective of believing in objective truth, like from your perspective, believing that there is an objective truth, of an objective right and wrong with certain situations, certain moral quandaries, whatever.
Correct.
How you're basically saying that is innately from a higher power, from God. That
if it's real,
we have an objective.
If it is real, there's only one way it can be: that there is some mind prior to his mind, prior to my mind, prior to her mind, that creates and defines her with value.
But if you look at evolution, how do you know that that's not just? I mean, you look at, in the most basic example, you look at crabs, and they hatch and they go to the moon. They follow the moon to the ocean.
Okay.
How do you know that it's not just something that we've developed over evolution, over time, that we have developed as humans to, hey, you know what? We innately believe that there is good, that there is value in each individual person. How do you know that that's not something that we've developed over
That's the opposite of what evolution teaches. It's the strong eat the weak. It's the powerful are in control. That's why Hitler picked up Nietzschean thinking, which was based off of evolutionary psychology, which says strong eat the weak. There is the Uberman. There is the powerful race. And so you never get morality, especially Judeo-Christian morality that you and I buy into every single day, out of evolutionary psychology. Would you?
Yeah, you could get.
How do you get serving one another? How do you get loving one another? How do you get sacrificing for one another? How do you get, hey, feed the starving, live for human rights, out of evolution, universally?
Well, you're just getting it from a book that was written by...
No, we're not getting it from a book.
We never mentioned
I told
the
you
book
Hindus,
once.
Jews,
So
I
please
told you
stop
everybody.
doing that.
Yeah.
We never said the book Bible once.
That's
not
what I
part
thought
of our
you were
discussion
going
right
on.
now. We're talking about your conscience. We're talking about the way you experience life. And I bet, although I can't prove it,
that way. If there's an objective,
if you're
right
different,
wrong,
tell
how
me.
do you know that humans don't inherently believe that in general? How do you know that that came from some sort of higher power?
It's real simple. It's real simple, sir. If you say there is no God, then reality is matter and energy.
Understand? Believing in God, believing in a higher power, is the most human, simple way of explaining what we don't understand.
Baloney.
No.
I believe in God
No.
because God is the best explanation of what I see and observe. And what I'm trying to show you, sir, is what you believe is not the best explanation of why him sexually assaulting her is wrong. Because baboons and chimpanzees do it all the time, and it's not wrong for them. It's an instinct they have. But I'm hoping, you're right, maybe I'm wrong, I'm hoping that you agree with me that for him to sexually assault her is not good. It's really, really
When you look
wrong.
at the beginning of every religion, it was all created by people trying to explain what they can't understand.
Baloney. Total baloney.
That is objectively the reality.
Oh, that's a cop-out, sir.
That's how
Total
religion was
cop-out.
created.
That's false.
But it's not.
People do not believe in God because they have to fill the gaps.
Yes,
some people do. Some people do.
I'm not saying now. I'm saying in the past.
Oh, in the past, them ignorant people,
thousands.
right? No, baloney. Baloney.
People created religion
People
to explain what they
believe
couldn't
in God,
understand,
first
because
of
that was
all,
before
because they
science
see
existed,
order and
that was before
design,
modern
and they
science,
say,
that was-
wow. Secondly, they understand there's a meaning to life, and they say, wow. Thirdly, they
You're describing
experience
reasons why
love,
someone might
and they
choose to
say,
join a religion.
wow.
You're
No.
explaining why-
If your worldview is correct, then love comes from right here, and energy. Matter and energy. Remember, if you say there is no God, all of reality is matter and energy. You don't get love from matter and energy. Love is a free decision of a will to care for
Religion
somebody.
was developed over time, explaining what people couldn't understand,
Baloney.
and then writing that down, and it was
Sir, I believe in God because confronted by this man with order and design, I don't say, you're an accident.
So, to jump in real quick here, he keeps on saying that religion was created to explain things that we couldn't understand. He obviously has never read at least the Christian Bible, because the Christian Bible doesn't go around explaining things that we don't understand. It just has a story of how we began, and then in the Old Testament there's a bunch of events that happened that goes on to explain like morality and justice and a bunch of other things. But then in the New Testament, there's no explaining of things we don't understand. It's all about Jesus's teachings and his love and his moral, basically his moral compass, Sermon on the Mount, gold standard of morality. There's no explaining of like, why does the sun rise every morning, or why does the moon have phases? Like there's no explanation of anything like that in the Christian Bible. I'm not sure about other religions. I'm not too well versed on other religions, but so his claim that it's a book just to explain things that we don't understand back then is just completely false. It is a story being told, a factual historical story being told of events that happened. So there's no filling in the gaps, like Cliff said. It's not a, people don't just believe in God because it fills in the gaps. There's no gap filling in the Bible. It just tells you what happened as historical data. And in the New Testament, it talks about Jesus's teachings and how he treated people, his morality, and what happened to Jesus, and why we should have faith in Jesus because he died, resurrected, and absolved us of our sins. So he obviously has never touched any religious text. He just has these opinions probably from YouTube videos or listening to other atheists or what have you.
Why? Because accidents don't produce order and design. Accidents produce chaos. This is not chaos. This is not chaos. This is amazing order and design. Therefore, it is far more reasonable, plausible, to say, in the beginning, God, meaning by that intelligent mind, than it is to say, in the beginning, chance. You're a marvelous accident. Baloney. It's not a marvelous accident. There's too much order and design.
That's what science has. The whole
Science?
universe.
Oh, come on, sir. All right, one quick illustration for this science, because you keep on bringing up science. Sir, scientifically, I know that I can prove that if I put arsenic in Grandma's tea, she will die. Science. But the question is, in light of the fact that Grandma has a really big stock portfolio and really large bank account, should I drop arsenic in her tea tonight so I can get the inheritance tomorrow? Science says zero. Zero. No, you listen. Come on. Think with me. That's not the point. The point is, science is a study of process.
I bring up science, and then you just completely change the subject to another.
To science. What you brought up. I didn't bring up science. You brought it up. You've used the word a couple of times. So I'm trying to straighten stuff out here. All right? Science can answer the question, what happens if you drop poison in Grandma's tea? She drinks it, she will die. Science does not answer the question, should you put poison in Grandma's tea, because then she will die, and then you get the inheritance. That is an ethical question. Science does not answer the ethical question. So it's a different field of knowledge from ethics. Science is very important. Don't put poison in Grandma's tea, because you will kill her. It does not answer the ethical question. In light of all the money that she has, should you kill her in order to get her money? That's an ethical question. That's not a scientific question.
But I didn't answer science to any moral or ethical question.
You brought up science. I didn't. You brought it up.
Yes, I brought up science because you said that it was unlikely that chance is what created us and the universe and everything.
That's exactly right.
But that's not true. According
That's
to
not science.
That's not true.
That's not science at all.
The Big
Science.
Bang Theory is the leading theory of why we're here.
And what do you think the Big Bang Theory tells you? That there's a beginning, which means there's got to be a cause. There's got to be some type of creator.
Big Bang Theory. I love talking about the Big Bang Theory. So to put it into basic terms, the way we know that the Big Bang Theory happened is if you look at the trajectory of everything in space, they're all moving in a certain direction from a certain point in the universe, which tells us that everything started at a certain point and started expanding outward from that point. So the Big Bang Theory does not explain anything other than that we know that something started at a single point. As Christians, we say, okay, yeah, sure, Big Bang Theory, true. Everything started from a single point. What started that point? What put the matter there to start expanding? What put the energy there to start expanding? You can't create something from nothing. There has to be something that puts something in motion. And the Big Bang Theory just says, okay, everything started expanding from this point right here. It doesn't explain anything else other than that. It just tells us that the universe started expanding at a certain point in the universe, and that's basically all we know. It just shows the trajectory of everything moving from that point. So the Big Bang Theory just, to me, gives more evidence that there's a God, because there has to be something that puts that in motion. There has to be. You don't get nothing. Like, you just don't have nothing, and then all of a sudden there's this great amount, an amount that we can't even think of in our brains, of matter and energy that just starts expanding. Like, that is so much matter and energy in one spot to create what we know as the universe today, that it had to be something so grand and so great to put into motion. And that grand thing is God.
And that's what Einstein had to struggle with. Oh no, Einstein says, I thought the universe was eternal. The Big Bang shows me it's not eternal, which means there's a beginning, which means there's got to be some type of creator. And that's exactly where Einstein went. Now, did you bring Einstein up?
You brought Einstein up.
Okay. In the area of science.
All that explains is that we don't know what happened before that Big Bang. That's all that explains. That doesn't explain, oh, someone or something had to create. It just means we don't know what happened.
That there was something big enough, powerful enough, and outside of space and time to create something inside of space and time. So it's a philosophical. Wait. You stopped. Is that a question, or did you just pause?
No,
You want to keep talking?
If you believe in the Big Bang, then
Okay.
Then the concept of outside of space and time before the Big Bang, it's
Nothing. Is nothing something, or is nothing nothing? See, atheists have to say nothing is something to get around the argument to say, see, the universe has lasted forever. And so the best atheists that we argue with, the celebrity ones like Aaron Ra and Matt Delante, they'll redefine nothing into something. But all the cosmologists know that actually there was a beginning. So there has to be a beginningless creator, or at least something powerful, call it a computer, that started this thing, that was personal to make that decision.
The beginning
Sounds a lot like God.
Of what we know to exist. What we as humanity knows to exist.
Science, that, yes, scientifically.
There was the beginning of that. We don't know if we're just some little tiny thing in a massive thing that already existed. We don't know. But we have
had a beginning. That's what science points to. You keep saying science. That's the best cosmologists say that. But how consensus. There's a consensus to that now. And that's why so many atheist, naturalistic cosmologists are depressed and they're on medication, because they started to realize that they're ushering in some type of designer. Even Richard Dawkins has admitted that. So what are you saying exactly? There's some point?
No, I'm saying that...
What does this mean?
Before...
I'm seriously, I'm being honest. I'm not trying to poke. Sure. I'm being honest. What does this mean?
All that we know is the extent of the universe that we have known to exist. We haven't explored the whole universe. We don't know what exists. We don't know what's out there.
Agreed.
So we don't know how expansive it is. So all that we know is that before the Big Bang, nothing existed in the area that we know of.
So you are a scientist of the gaps. You were calling him a God of the gaps guy. You're a science of the gaps guy. Where you're saying, we have no idea yet, so let's just pause it. Science will figure it out sometime in the future. That's exactly what I just heard right there.
Well, it's better than saying, oh, well, it's just because some
No, we're saying it makes sense that something that is beginningless,
from a human perspective,
timeless, personal to decide,
man, it's been good talking with you. I can't thank you enough. You don't want to shake my hand? All right.
Because you're just a
professional
debater.
Wait, quick response.
I'm not a professional debater.
Quick response.
I'm an atheist. Are you an atheist?
Yes.
So he got basically pushed into a corner, and he couldn't answer the question. And Cliffe, he'll talk to somebody for about 20-25 minutes, and then he likes to move on and go to another person just to give him another chance so somebody doesn't soak up all the time. But what I find funny is that he goes to shake his hand and he won't even shake his hand. So Cliffe is showing, hey, we can be in disagreements, but you know what? I still respect you as a person. The handshake at the end is just saying, hey, I still respect you even though we don't agree. And this kid can't even do that. And he calls Cliffe a professional debater, and Cliffe denies it, but Cliffe has been doing this for like 30, 40 years. I would say that Cliffe is a professional debater, even if he's never gotten a degree or anything into it. But so the kid does have that point. I do believe that Cliffe is a very good debater, along with Stuart. But let's finish up the video and then I'll give my recap.
Okay, so I'm an
You're
atheist.
just a professional fucking debate lord. You just come out here every day.
It's tricky because it's all a belief system, right?
Sir, you stepped out and started talking, and you have every right to do that, and I thank you for doing
No
that.
one walking past you all the time.
Well, you feel free to walk past me. It's just fine.
So
You can do that.
I think from what I was understanding, what you were saying, the question might be, and I wonder this too. Well, now I lost it a little bit. Are you saying that? And forgive me if I misquote.
Just speak up. Come on, let's go.
Are you saying that love and emotion and feelings and goodness come from God? So essentially saying that me, who considers myself an atheist, would really be a Christian because I experience love and emotion for other people.
All right. I'm going to say this once, I hope.
Okay.
If you're an atheist, you have limited reality.
True.
To matter and energy. Matter and energy. Which means it is impossible to have a free will. Because a free will means there is a me that goes beyond the complex chemical reactions in my brain. No God, no free will, because all I am is a complex chemical reaction, and you do not have a free will coming out of a complex chemical reaction. Second point, my experience of life is I can be highly disrespectful to him, not choose to shake his hand, or I can choose to shake his hand after a very spirited debate, which I have no problem with, and I've never taken a debate course once, by the way, to straighten you out on me. Instead, I can be respectful or disrespectful. I don't have to do either. Which means my experience of reality is there's more to reality than matter and energy. There is a soul, a person, a me, a personhood that has a free will, the ability to love. What is love? It is not a sex drive. Love is not a chemical reaction. Love is a free decision to forgive the guy who stuck the knife in my back. And everything within me is saying, knock him into the next generation. And instead of doing that, I freely choose to forgive and to love. That is why he cannot live out what he's saying, and you cannot live out your atheism, because there's a deep part of you that says, no, I am free.
So that video was really interesting. It's one of my more favorite Cliffe videos that's came out recently, because this kid, like, he's so close to understanding what Cliffe is trying to break through to him, but there's like this last level of a wall that he just cannot seem to break through. In the beginning of the video, he was like, okay, society dictates, popular vote dictates of what is right and wrong. But when Cliffe broke down that wall, saying, well, what about when Abraham Lincoln went against the popular vote, against the popular opinion, and changed America for the better? What about that? And so he started to, like, I think the gears started to turn a little bit in his head, and he couldn't really defend that aspect of his worldview anymore. And then he kept switching it up. And then, but Cliffe has good answers to all of his contradictions, and I think he's so close to getting there. And that's why I enjoy Cliffe's debates a lot, and that's why you'll see me do a lot of the videos on my channel, is because he explained things in such a way that's not too technical, and he actually doesn't bring in the Bible too much. He doesn't just say, well, in this scripture here it says X, Y, and Z, that's why he explains it. He tries to explain it to people without using scripture context or anything like that. Now, he has brought it up before, but for the most part, like he said, he's like, I never brought up the Bible once. All I'm talking about is there must be a higher power, because there are these objective morals that we live by every day, whether you think you do or not, we do. And the objective morality is probably one of the strongest cases, in my opinion, that there is a God. It definitely changed my mind when I went from atheist to a believer. Is there are objective morals. I never thought about it until I started watching Cliffe's videos. And there are these morals that we all live by, and we just may not even realize it, but we know that there are things that are right and wrong. And when you break that down and you try to think, okay, why is that right and wrong? Okay, well, I was just brought up that way. Okay, what about before that? What about before my upbringing? What about in the year 1300? Was it just okay to go out and do these things, like Cliffe was saying, like to do this to women or babies or whatever he was talking about in the video? No, like, it has always been wrong. And why has it always been wrong? Because there's an objective law giver, and that objective law giver is a mind before all minds, who gave us these inner feelings and thoughts that there is something that's always right, there is something that's always evil, and we know that in our hearts. And because of that alone, excluding everything else that we know about Jesus, the scriptures, and all that stuff, just the moral objective theory, I don't even want to call it theory, the moral objective process, it's very hard to deny a God that gave it. That's why he said that Richard Dawkins and other celebrity atheists, they have the hardest time explaining that, because they have to submit to the fact that morality is subjective to the human mind. And when you admit that fact, you cannot say that another part of the world where horrible things are happening, that they are wrong, because in their mind it is okay, in their culture it is okay, in their society it's okay. So us as Western Americans cannot go over there and say, hey, what you guys are doing are wrong. because it's not objective. It's all relative and subjective. So I thought that was a great video to show. I think this is one of the better debates where it like shows just like the struggle that some atheists will encounter when you bring up something like this to them. And I think this highlighted it very well. I think that kid is, I definitely think he'll go home and reflect on it. I think he'll end up believing in some kind of God. Probably not, but at least the seed was planted, and that's all we can do is just plant the seed, and then if it grows, it grows. Hopefully it does, because living a life according to God is a much better joy, happiness, morality. It's such a better life to live. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a sub, leave a like, comment down below what you thought about this video. I always comment back. And then if you want to catch me on my live discussions, you can catch me at twitch.tv/DevoutNation or tiktok.com/@DevoutNationTTV. Hope to see you there. Thank you for the continued support. And as always, bless you all, and I will see you on the next one.